Hey everyone, you're with Sea Spring Coalition, and we wanted to talk about um, just some challenges that we've heard about from people we've been meeting sheltering in parks and sheltering outdoors, and who are precariously housed in the CRD here. And I know for myself, getting to know people quite well now, I've just been taken aback by how many youth and seniors have faced a lot of challenges because of their gender and sexuality, and also the really palpable fear they express at being in shelters and supportive housing where they feel they are at risk. And I just wanted to ask some of our experts, Jesse and Lee, about their knowledge on this topic and if they can share some of the things that they've heard are being experienced by people out there. So, Lee, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I myself, I don't identify as trans. I identify as non-binary. But when I was, well, this is outside of the CRD. When I was in the Lower East Side, in Vancouver, homeless there for a while, was really good friends with a trans woman who was pre-op and was living in constant pain. I might cry now because she was always tucking all the time and couldn't not tuck because she would be found out about the bulge and everything, and so it really affected me because I felt for her. It's no good to have a friend who's in pain all the time. It's really sad. So that's one experience I have of a trans person who is definitely living in fear when they're unhoused.
And have you heard of people being nervous or afraid of being in shelters, supportive housing in this
Yeah,
area?
yeah. Specifically, I can speak about Rock Bay Landing. I was in Rock Bay Landing when I was being sheltered, and they even started an LGBTQ plus support group. It didn't last long because the person who was running it got transferred to another department or something, and nobody else picked it up. But uh, I, I I didn't know. I felt like I was the only queer person in the building. Um, but as the group people came up and were approaching about the group and questioning about the group, I realized there were a lot of my friends there were also identifying on in that category as well. Um, but we're just afraid to kind of let that be known uh, for fear of repercussions. For whatever reason, street culture is very machismo, very, yeah, very like, oh, that's gay, like to mean like that's a bad thing. So it's very machismo that way.
I have a friend in one of the sheltering parks that his story just broke my heart because he's in his late 60s now, but he was kicked out of his home as a young teen because he was gay, and still to this day asks me to help him explain that to his very elderly now parents. But he also will not doesn't feel comfortable going back into any of the emergency shelters, so he's living outdoors because he was beat up at one of the shelters, and when they were beating him up they were calling him a lot of homophobic slurs, and so for him it's like he's just never been able to find a safe place that he can just be himself in. And it's just heartbreaking to see somebody that it's been happening over and over to. And then still now with the rains, he feels safer outdoors than he does indoors. And I know that the staff in a lot of these places don't want that to be the case, but we need to do a better job of making sure people feel safe and are safe. And Jesse, do you have any thoughts on some of the challenges our youth are facing out there?
Well, from personal experience and having seen the resources that we do have in Victoria for specifically transgender youth, I'm going to say, just because it's more based on like medical needs and stuff. A lot of the testosterone and gender affirming care is not offered in a lot of the shelters and stuff. And in order to access it, you almost have to out yourself. There's no really safe, quiet spaces. I noticed. I do better with more direct questions. Sorry, this is an
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to talking about this. So,
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about accessing the medication side of things.
the medication side of things, I did that
Specifically testosterone,
about
estrogen.
6 years ago. It's a bit different. It's a little easier now if you're trans. If you are gender queer though, or like along the gender spectrum, you have to go through. I believe you said you have to go through about a year.
Yeah.
So
Of gender counseling.
And to get referred for gender counseling is almost next to impossible. It's hard to just get a 5-minute doctor's appointment with a walk-in clinic. So there's there's not that care. So when you have like someone who's transgender living out on the street and stuff, there's actually no gender affirming care plan for them. And a lot of times, especially with COVID and everything, a lot of people's transitions have been completely halted. And then they're being and then so if we have like a transgender male, transgender female, and then they're going into shelters and stuff, there's also that big problem of if they're not transitioned, then they're seen as cross-dressing, and then it's an issue for them to enter some of the shelters. Is from what I've heard, and we desperately need like it sucks that we don't want to create a divide, but we desperately need just and again the acronym is always changing, and so just I'm not even going to try to say it, but we just need a space that is safe if you're trans, if you're genderqueer, if you're gay, lesbian, all of that. There should be a space that is just for that, because at this point, like, it's not good enough to say that you offer a program or that you have a flag on your wall and yet you're a safe space. At this point, people just need a safe space to go and transition, have medical care without worrying about the rest of the shelter potentially ganging up on them, getting beat up, getting outed, and losing a lot of opportunities. Like, you lose job opportunity, you lose a lot of stuff, especially when you're amongst people, slim pickings. So the more they know about you, the more vulnerable you are, and being trans makes you incredibly vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that for our period product equity pilot project that we're doing, where we distribute menstruation products to people who are unsheltered and precariously housed, I know that we're going to package it in a certain way, discreet packaging, because for some people to accept those products can be
another huge
dangerous
thing that was discussed recently that I find important, and it seems very small, but pads, tampons, all of those things come in packages that make a rip sound. It's very distinctive. So a major thing, and I've never had to experience this, I got lucky, got to just kind of skip that, but a lot of my friends and stuff they said they've never felt more terrified to walk into a bathroom and have to use one of those products and then open it, and the anxiety they feel has caused them to be physically ill. And I thought about this, and I'm like, I kind of want to know what that would feel like and stuff. And so I grabbed one of my, I keep a stash for, people, who need that stuff in my home. And I did, and I was standing there, and I ripped one open, and it was loud, and it gave me anxiety because I have a roommate who's a male who would not, and a cis male who would not care in any way. But I felt that anxiety, and I'm like, so if you have to use, especially if you're female and male transgender, if you got to go use a bathroom, you need a tampon or a pad or whatever, you got to rip it open, and it's in hot pink packaging. Again, don't gender colors. But now you're a target, and you have no idea what those 3 people are now thinking, and it's like who are using that bathroom.
I have a Reddit friend who was mentioned. They live in the States, but they were mentioning, it was hilarious. Kind of, they were ripping open a tampon, and they were pre-op trans male, and the guy in the stall next to him was like, "Dude, you're taking so long. You got a snack going there?" Like, because he assumed he was opening a snack or something.
Yeah, well, it sounds like
you hear the packaging.
Chips. Like,
you hear the package ruffling, and he was like, "Yeah. When you got to go, you got it hungry too."
like that's just the thing. These bathrooms, there is no reason why that stall door should be not going from the ceiling into the floor. And there's no reason why that shouldn't lock. There's no reason for it to be that exposed. The slits in the doors, like. It's not a money, it's not a budget thing. It's just, it's very lazy. Bathrooms can be easily redone. It's not even an issue.
Well, it's a lack of lived experience informing things, right? And so you guys just made me realize that even just for our dignified disposal bags, for our equitable products, we need to have that be discreet as well. So
don't have the places to throw away those products. So you have to leave the stalls and have that stuff
with it.
So, if you're really on the ball, right? If you're really on the ball, you're going to wrap that stuff in toilet paper. You're going to be discreet. But there's gonna be times that you're not like that, and I've had friends say, to me who do menstruate, they're just like, I've had to take that hot pink packaging, and I had no toilet paper left, and I had to run it to the garbage can on the other side, and the anxiety and stuff. And then sometimes you don't even think about it because, again, why should you have to put so much thought into using the bathroom?
Yeah.
And then if you don't, though, it's amazing the risk you'll put yourself at by making one mistake over a hot pink wrapper.
So until we have a society and a world where everyone is safe and secure, we need to do what we can to offer people options to protect their privacy. And we're going to be going throughout the month of November really more in depth with our unsheltered neighbors about disability rights issues for them, and also safety issues around gender and sexuality. So I thank you both, and anybody out there who is struggling and feeling alone and needs support, please do not hesitate to contact us. We're a safe place, and we're here.